remember when I first started out in this journey of designing and creating things, I thought at the time that if I just kept on working, that if I just spent a lot of time working and taking no breaks and just doing stuff would enable me to basically get better and get to a level where I would exceed people's expectations and I would exceed what I thought I could do, because I knew that if it was just a game of time, really, it wasn't really a competition. The competition was with myself, and I wanted to make sure that I spent as much time as possible creating content and getting better. This all started when I put up tutorial videos online, and I used YouTube as a platform, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew that people wanted to see how some work was being created, and I thought I could help people by putting up tutorials. I saw my friends putting up videos like speed arts and stuff, and I knew that they were doing pretty well, so I thought to myself, well, people may want to see my stuff, but I didn't realize that what I was doing was really investing into my future. A few years down the line, I now understand obviously what I was doing with YouTube. I was actually marketing who I was and what I could do, and I thought when I got to a certain level or a certain stage in my career, then I'd have to do less work, that I would be able to take the money that I've earned or the platform that I have and do less. But in reality, that wasn't the case. It just meant more work, more responsibility, and a greater sense of doing more and getting to the next level. I remember a few years ago when I started getting the work that I really wanted, the hand lettering and the logo design work, and my abilities were sort of exceeding what I thought I could do, that I would never be able to stop working, that I couldn't take a break. It came to the point where I wouldn't take a lunch break, or sort of I wouldn't do any downtime at home on an evening, because I just had so much to do. I wanted to get better, but I also had this little niggling feeling at the back of my mind that I was sort of aiming myself at, that if I kept on going and worked hard now, then in the future I wouldn't have to work so hard. But obviously now that's wrong. I know that's wrong. It's not correct, because you see, the more we do now means the more we'll do later. It's not that we do all the things now and then we get less later. The less you do now, the less things you'll have later, and that's just the way that the world works. Naomi told me that she wanted to go on holiday to Lanzarote, and she gave me a few places that we could go. I just kept on saying Cyprus because I'm not the fan of the hot weather, and I knew Cyprus from the honeymoon that we went on. But Naomi said that Lanzarote would be good, and I remember this feeling of dread, that I wouldn't be able to do the work whilst I was over there that I needed to do. I knew that I would have a laptop and my phone and everything, so I could get access to work and YouTube videos, but I wanted to make sure that these videos were going live. But I really felt this sense of like inadequacy, that I needed to stay at home, or if I was over there I'd still have to work anyway, so what's the sort of point of going over there? Naomi basically just said everything will be fine and you can get back to it when you come home. But I obviously knew that if I stopped working, that there'll be repercussions to that, just like everywhere else. If you don't work and you're self-employed and you're creating online content, then things will slow down just naturally, but there's nothing to be scared of. I remember Naomi telling me to chill out basically, and just to take some time off, and so I did. I went over to Lanzarote with Naomi and we had an absolute blast. But I remember when I was sat outside and I was lettering, and I was doing it out of a place of relaxation and not out of obligation. I was doing it out of a place of enjoyment and not just creating for the sake of creating. That I looked down at the piece of paper that I was drawing on in my moleskin, and I realized that this is the best work I've ever done. Like, I've enjoyed it, and this is the best work that I've ever done. And I started to realize that it was because of the time that I took away from lettering, and the time that I took away and the unfamiliarity of where I was, that this lettering work was coming out. Like, my brain had been sort of rewired, or it's been defragged in a way. There's a story about two lumberjacks, and the first lumberjack said to the second lumberjack that I bet I can cut down more trees than you today. And the second lumberjack takes him on this bet and says, sure, let's go for it. And the first lumberjack and the second lumberjack goes over and starts cutting down the trees that they need to cut. And over time, the first lumberjack starts to see the second one sitting down every now and then, and it seemed like he was just taking a break. And the first lumberjack said to himself, well, if he's going to be taking a break, then that's a perfect opportunity for me just to carry on working, so then I'll definitely have more wood at the end and I've cut down more trees. So time goes by and the first lumberjack starts working and he doesn't take any break, and the second one keeps taking periodical breaks. And it comes to the end of the day where the first lumberjack goes over to the second lumberjack and says, I think I've cut down more wood than you today. What's your yield like? And the second one says, well, I've definitely cut down more wood than you. And the first one looks at astonishment at all the work that he's done and all the trees that have been cut down, and he says, this is impossible. Whilst you were sat down doing nothing, I was carrying on working and doing everything. And the second lumberjack replies saying, well, whilst I was sat down taking a break, I was sharpening my axe. When I read this story online, I realised then that that is exactly what I was doing when I was on holiday. When I was taking a break, these periodical breaks throughout the day, whether it's lunch or downtime in an evening or going on holiday, I wasn't just doing nothing, I wasn't slumbering around, I was actually taking a break and sharpening my abilities. I was rewiring my brain, defragging it so it would get rid of all the nonsense.